Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough, the COVID-19 edition. If you haven't seen this show before, my name is Art Bergeron. I'm an elder law attorney at Myrick O'Connell. Our office is right here in Westborough. And my day job is I do elder law, but this is not about my day job. This is about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've been to presentations of mine in senior centers in the area, you know that Frank and Mary's goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if they're living in Westborough, that means here. That means they don't want to move to San Diego with their kids. They don't. Welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary, where I live. They want to stay home. So the point of these shows is to help you know the people that you need to know and the programs that you need to know about in order to stay right here, right where you are. And Shelby, my wonderful co-host, who is your selectman, and you see her on TV at Myrick O'Connell. Our office is right here. And we decided we would do this during COVID-19 more regularly because things have changed so much over the last several months. So we started doing the shows regularly. So this is the COVID-19 edition of these shows, which it seems like hopefully is not going to last forever, but not still for a while. And Shelby always gets great guests, and today she has a terrific one. So Shelby, whom do we have today?
Yeah, good morning, Arthur. Great to see you again. Today our guest is our Director of Public Works, Chris Payant. Chris, hello.
Hi, good to be
Chris,
here. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Nice to meet you. A pleasure.
Yeah, so Chris, in the history of Westborough, is a relative newcomer. The first time I met Chris, we were that will wear out, by the way, Chris, after a little while. So
yeah, I don't feel new anymore.
So the first time I met Chris, we were, I think, on a Skype call or some version of it when it was sort of technology we weren't using on a regular basis, and Chris was actually in Germany. So we're going to talk about a little bit of, Chris is going to introduce himself.
The people that you need to know and the
kind of professional background, what brought him to Westborough, and then we're going to talk about the Complete Streets program, which I think our audience will be really interested in. And the intent here really is not only to pique their interest, but
Shelby
process and tell them how they can be part of it. So Chris, again, welcome. Great to see you. And please introduce yourself. Tell her.
Your selectman, and you see her on TV.
So Chris Payant, as Shelby mentioned, been here about a year. My family and I moved here from Germany. So I was in the military for over 20 years and looking for a place to call home and stay for a long time as opposed to just bouncing around. Westborough seemed like a great place, and there was an opportunity here to join this great team, and so that's where we are, and so we're settling in and getting to know not only the town and the DPW, but the schools and everything else here that my kids are part of, and so anyways, we're happy to be here. I know I've talked to a bunch of groups and people that might actually be watching this episode, so I'm not going to speak too much, but it's good to be here and happy to be here on the show today.
Great. Actually, thank you, Chris. So tell us a little bit, if you would, just kind of high level, what was your role, your most recent role when you were in the military and in Germany?
So in the military, in the Army, I was an engineer. And so most recently I was at a training center in Germany. So there's 3 training centers in the Army, 2 in the United States and 1 in Germany, and my responsibility was leading a team that provided coverage to a unit that was training, doing engineer-specific tasks, and we would kind of shadow them, provide feedback, lessons learned, coach them along so they could get better in their training, and we do that on a routine basis throughout the year. So
Great.
That was most recent.
Well, as always, thank you, for your service. We have a great country because of great people like you. So thank you.
And Westborough has great people because of people like you. There's
right.
As I'm sure you've found from moving to Westborough, it's just an incredible diversity of folks. Some who have been here forever. Some like you and Shelby, not so much, right?
Right.
But
I met Chris. We were.
It's great to be through Shelby to be meeting so many of you folks.
So one of the exciting things about having a new director of any department is that they bring new ideas and sort of build off of the foundation that's already been built. And so that's why we're here today to talk about Complete Streets. So Chris, if you would give an introduction, and then we'll pause and I'll kind of do a screen share so folks can kind of follow along.
Okay. So Complete Streets, it's really an approach, and how we want to approach, building roads and sidewalks and making improvements to our community. And the term Complete Streets is making a street that has, accessible. It's accessible for pedestrians, for bikes, and for cars. And so Mass DOT, the Department of Transportation, has come up with a program entitled Complete Streets. And so taking that concept, they've turned it into a program that allows communities, and I think over 2/3 of the towns across the Commonwealth are participants, can apply to be part of this program and then potentially receive funding through a grant to fund projects that have been identified that facilitate complete streets. And so it's really a concept, but technically it's a program that the Mass DOT has adopted, and a way for us to identify our needs and then look for opportunities to start addressing some of those needs, potentially with other people's money, not our own, which is always nice. So that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that continues to impress me about the work done across many departments is our departments are very aggressive about applying for grants and looking for audience, a little bit about who Chris is. Sharing. So we're in the first phase, Chris, of Complete Streets, right? It's really developing that policy and exploring, and correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, but exploring kind of where are the initial needs, and that policy will then sort of frame work going forward and submission of future kind of grant requests, correct?
That's right. So as you said, we'll come up with a policy. The town will come up with a policy, and we'll adopt that. That will guide us in how we want to, and that's a requirement as part of the grant program, come up with a policy. And the second part is for us to come up with a prioritization list. So identify all the things we want to do, whatever ideas are out there, put them on a big list, prioritize them, and then start chipping away at them in whatever way we can. And so the grant program provides funding, so not town funding, but the grant pays for a consultant to help guide us through that process. And so right now in the process, we're in the middle of the idea generation phase where we're getting all those ideas, and the consultant is taking those ideas and binning them according to kind of the type of activity it is. And then we have a working group that's comprised of many department representatives, and then the bike and pedestrian committee, everything else here that my kids are part of. We look at this big list and we start prioritizing, how we would go about tackling some of these efforts if we choose to do so.
Sure. So we'll get into the prioritization. We'll kind of segue to that by hopefully my successful screen sharing. So I've learned in testing this that I'm not going to be able to see both of you. So if you can't see something, please let me know. But one of the, I think, important parts of this, anytime we talk about programs, is that folks, particularly Frank and Mary, they may need a little extra help navigating through websites and how do I find this information. So we're going to show folks how to find the information on our town website and how to participate in the process. So here comes the magical screen share. So here, folks, is our town's website. We're going to, you can find the Complete Streets program right now through a couple different ways. Right here through this link, but we're going to bring you to the department link so that you can see the great team over here that Chris has under Public Works. We're going to click on that. You should now see the Public Works Department page. There's lots of interesting information on here. And Chris, let me ask you a question while I'm getting to the Complete Streets feedback page, which is right here, as folks can see. How is Complete Streets different? I know you're going to be coming before the Board of Selectmen to talk about kind of roadway management, and sidewalks will be a component of that. How is Complete Streets different?
In Germany, so there's 3
sidewalk management and road management program that we have.
In my mind, the only real difference is where the money's coming from. And so we have a potential pot of money through the Complete Streets grant program. And we also have funding that's provided by the Commonwealth through Chapter 90, which is our source for funding to make road improvements. So that's where the money comes from. But really, in terms of our process and how we make decisions, to me, it's all bundled together.
Okay.
Because otherwise, we'd be potentially stepping on ourselves.
Yeah, well, exactly. Right. And that's right. That's what I wanted folks to understand, that this is really, I mean, to me, this is sort of additive to the work that has already been done, because now we're looking for funding elsewhere. And it's also really a kind of a tried and true process. And we can learn from other communities that have done some really cool things through the program. So what we've got before folks here, and Chris, I'll have you, I'll drive it, but I just want to show folks how easy it is to participate in this. But this is effectively kind of the way the community can engage and provide its input to ultimately the prioritization, correct, Chris?
Yep. So if you go to the left side of the screen, you can see a plus and a minus, and you click on that minus.
Sorry.
Then you'll see the screen zoom out.
Westborough has great people because of people.
And all of those bicycle and pedestrian icons in there represent comments that have been provided by residents and community members. And so what this screen allows anybody to do that accesses it is come to the site and identify a location that you think there might be an issue in terms of maybe the sidewalk is in rough shape and needs repaired. Maybe there's not a crosswalk and you think there should be one. Shelby, if you want to click on just any one of those blue icons, you'll see something. So there's a comment that was added by someone, identified a problem, and maybe provided a recommendation, or just identified the problem, which is really the key. So those are
meeting so many of you folks,
there. And if you go to the note that says points, it's right in the middle of the screen in the banner. You can click on that, and it'll offer you the opportunity to go through a series of steps to make your point. So Shelby could pick pedestrian, and then it would cue her to a new screen that allows her to type in, her comment, whatever that might be, and then you hit submit, and it shows up on the screen. So it's super easy, and it's open to anybody. And what we will ultimately do is take all of these comments and assemble them into a database that allows us to organize and then ultimately prioritize where we might want to do some work. But it's extremely user-friendly and requires no username and password or anything else that makes things complicated. It's just as simple as what Shelby did right now.
And so, Frank, in terms of my friends Frank and Mary trying to figure this out, so they would click onto that. They could click onto this website and to that page.
Complete Streets. It's really
make a comment. They're not making. Are they making a comment about a particular location, Chris, or are they making a generic comment? And so if the comment is about a particular place, they need to explain that place to you, so that you can insert that place on that map.
So
am I getting this? I'm trying to understand.
That's a great question. It could be either way. So you could find a location on the map. You could press the plus and minus, zoom into wherever you'd like to, find an intersection, and click on that specific location, and that's where your little pedestrian person will show up. But if you didn't have a specific thing in mind, but you still wanted to provide feedback, you could just pick a spot anywhere and add an icon and make a generic or general comment that's not maybe tied to a specific location, but still something is important.
So Arthur, I actually went out here and did, played around with this for a little while just to make sure I understood how to do it. And one area that I thought is this one right here. So the one I'm hovering over is right at the Highlands, right? So we've got a number of folks, and there's not a Safeway right across the street is the post office. right? But there's no crosswalk. So the other neat thing about this is as folks kind of scroll around and you read what folks have submitted, you can click on that and it allows you to add your own comment and add it. So I'm just going to, Chris, if you don't mind, this is a test comment. And if I add it,
yeah,
then what you see here is, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, I thought that there were, maybe now I'm gonna mess myself up here, but there's a way to see all the other comments in a particular section.
On that spot.
Yeah, see right here, I just opened a different one.
Yep, there it is.
See at the bottom, there are 2 other folks that have added to this. So you don't, so very easy to navigate. The other, so I'm going to scroll out just so folks can kind of see. I'm on the east side of town here. Got lots of friends over here that have said, we really can't, success. Look at all the comments. So it just takes a moment to refresh. So as you scroll, you'll see, don't panic that there's nothing on the other side that you can't add to, or that people don't care about your side of the town, so to speak.
Right.
Just give it a moment to refresh and then it pops up. For folks that are not comfortable in what we just have shown, and actually Chris, is there anything else you want to show here?
No, I think we covered.
I'm sorry. Yeah, one more. So points is there. And then I think that, so I just want to walk folks through that again. So again, you just click on points and then
it's potentially with
these. But even in selecting, if you select pedestrian, there's still a way, we'll just put that there for a second. It still gives lots of other sort of subcategories. And then you have this whole comment section where you can elaborate on what you want to submit.
So kind of as you were mentioning, Shelby, so you can actually click on places where people have already clicked, and then you're kind of making a comment which is being added to other people, or you can as a pedestrian or as a cyclist or whatever, click on a new point that you think is a real problematic point.
Right, and add to
it. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
it's a really handy tool.
That's really cool.
It really is, and there are some other, actually, I should have shown. There are actually, I found out some things about the town. I think there are some. It shows where some of the trails are. It's actually very cool. So it's kind of a fun way to kind of see what's in the town and kind of where, where there are, Chris, of complete streets, right? It ultimately will give the whole town, but certainly Chris and his team, really a guide for prioritization of projects. Because we know that we can't do everything, right? We can't, the funds are not limited, particularly in these days.
Right.
Hopefully, oh, please.
Just to your comment about the trails. So we are working with the manager of the site so that we can incorporate some trails around there. The
charm bracelet.
Yeah, charm bracelet. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's on there, but the town had an old sidewalk plan. There's some trail plans that are future things that people have looked at. So all of that stuff, the intent is to get it all in one spot, and then we can, connect the dots, make sure we're actually building a network as opposed to just, isolated sidewalks or bike paths or whatever. But it's a network that makes sense for everybody. So
I have a question. So if I'm Frank and Mary, and you just blew me away with all of this stuff, right? And the reason why I'm watching the show on cable is because I don't know how to do any of this stuff, right? And that's why I'm so happy that cable actually tapes these shows and puts them on cable so that I don't have to figure this out. So if I can't figure it out, is there somebody, and certainly I could call one of my kids because they all get this, right? And they could do this, they could click onto this site and I could talk to them about it and they could get the information in, for me as a consumer. But if I don't want to do that, is there like a person or somebody that I could call at town, Chris, one of your people, is there somebody that I can call who can help me get something onto that map? Because as you now that you've described it, it's an invaluable tool, and because it gives everybody else the ability to look and go, oh yeah, that's right, that's a problem. Things that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of.
Start chipping away at them and whatever
on there as the pedestrian, and it reminds you of what that issue might have been. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah, absolutely. So anytime somebody had a question, they're welcome to call us. And our number's right there on the webpage that Shelby just had up.
And could you just give us that number just in
he can talk you right through it.
Well, we'll put it at the bottom of the screen.
We'll put it at the bottom. That's great. Yep. We'll put it at the bottom of the screen. That's terrific. That's terrific. Yeah, I think that'd be a big help, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's probably more of your pedestrian, you have two kinds of pedestrians. You have seniors and there's like everybody else, and that's a small group, Yeah. So most of them are seniors.
Yeah. No, well, definitely. I was actually going to propose that, Arthur. So thank you for bringing that up, because even though we kind of walked through it and hopefully folks see the simplicity of it, it still can be like, I'm not sure. I don't want to break the system, as my mom would say, right? So,
anybody call you and yell at you from Microsoft. Because
right.
The world just blew up because you pressed the wrong button.
Right. So I know Chris would love for everyone to participate and not want technology to be a limitation of that. So if you have an idea and you're not sure about, try the technology first. What else can you do, right? We're all at home anyway.
You can't break it.
You can't break it. Chris, one question I had is that will this site that we just saw be up for, kind of post policy and post prioritization? Does this site sort of sunset, or does it stay up and then sort of we start to see overlays of projects underway or something?
It will sunset at some point. I don't know the exact timing for that, but it won't be till later towards the end of this year at the soonest. So there's still plenty of time how we would go about tackling side data, but go review it and for everybody to see it. And I think we'll look at a way, because I think it's valuable there's other uses for this sort of capability. So we're going to explore how we could potentially, find other ways to use this sort of approach to collecting data. But
the
answer is yes, it goes away at some point because it's part of a contract. But
we ultimately kind of own the data that has been submitted,
absolutely.
And so we'll understand the data points. Have them. Great.
And so my question to the two of you is, so procedurally, right? Clearly people are going to be inserting the data this way. Will there actually be any public hearings or any hearings that are on Zoom regarding any of this? And to both of you, but I think especially to Shelby as a selectman, what's your kind of timeline? And is it? And I guess to Chris, is some kind of vote by the selectmen endorsing a particular plan necessary in order for you to advance getting funds through the Complete Streets, the state program? I'm just kind of wondering how the process works and kind of how the timing would work for people who may be interested in participating.
As every good politician should do, I'm going to defer to the expert, Chris.
So the policy that we develop, and we're required to develop one as part of the program, will be ultimately presented to the Board of Selectmen for their approval. The individual projects that are identified, there is not a requirement for them to be approved by anyone other than us submitting them to the Mass DOT for their approval and for the funding. But I think, I think it would make sense for us to provide some sort of feedback after we finished our process to say, here's the top 10 things or whatever the number is we've identified, and here's our rationale for why we think we should go forward, and then maybe get some feedback on that. But there's no formal requirement to get approval other than for our policy in terms of the process.
I see. And so if I'm a person who's got a real interest in this, I really want to be on that priority list that gets developed, because from then on in, if things are going to kind of happen automatically. So it sounds to me like if I'm Frank or Mary right now, and I'm interested in a particular location that's got a problem, I want to participate now.
That's right.
Because it could affect us for a long time. Otherwise, you got to amend the priority list and do this and that. Right. Forget it. Right. So it's a big deal to get something done right now. That's great to know. Great for them to know.
It is. And at an upcoming meeting, I don't have the date off the top of my head, although I probably should. Chris, I don't know if it's the 18th or
it's the 18th,
the 18th. Thank you. Chris is actually going to be coming before the Board of Selectmen and talking about the road management plan and sidewalks. So no doubt he'll kind of give the public, again, an update on how this ties into that. But this will be a repetitive process. But again, I don't want folks to kind of put that off. I mean, I've found that, even just driving around town, I've been like, oh, make a note to myself, go back to that, and because you do see things, in fact, even in the comment I put about the Highlands, I was like, was I accurate that there wasn't a crosswalk? And sure enough, I drove by, there's not, right? So you are driving around, you see different, places. And we're talking about like sloped curb cuts. I don't know if that's a technical term, where you're sort of exiting it, if you're in a stroller or a wheelchair or a walker, so it's anything. And so
I actually knew of a client, this was maybe last year, who told me that who was at the Highlands, who said that there was actually a guy there who had a wheelchair, right? A powered wheelchair, who would, as a favor to people who were there, deliver their mail for them, and go across the street to the post office, right? Because no one wanted to cross the street, of course.
Right. Right. It's a busy spot. So, Chris, I want to thank you so much for being our guest. I would, again, can't say it enough to ask folks to participate in this process. We hear a lot about, sometimes you don't hear about all the great things that our departments do, although they do great work, but we do certainly hear about, I want a sidewalk here, we don't have this there. Well, this is your chance, folks, to participate. And Chris and his team stand ready to receive those comments through the website that we just showed, or through picking up the phone and calling. They're a friendly group. They're there to help and to serve the public. And so I would encourage you to call them. And again, our friends at Westborough TV will put that up on the board.
And of course, your comments are going to affect whether your improvement gets done in year 1 or in year 15. So, you may be interested in participating.
Right. Exactly.
So Shelby, once again, just before we go, I know we're doing these shows every 2 weeks, but is there any, or every week now we've been doing
We are.
But is there anything in particular that people should be aware of that,
And how we make decisions.
So big news at our Board of Selectmen meeting yesterday, which was August 4th, for those that want to watch it. We entered into a purchase and sale agreement for the 31 to 33 Eli Whitney property. It is a 66-acre piece of land that has amazing topography, trails, streams. It's over by the Fales School. We will be having a special town meeting for a date to be determined, but it will be in the near future to actually vote for the town to vote for the funding for that property. It's one of the priority lists for Open Space Committee, Walkup Robinson, in the town to conserve for open space. So very, very excited. It's kind of one of those 100-year purchases. I hope folks watch that meeting and then ultimately decide to attend the special town meeting that we'll hold to approve the funding for it.
That's a great update. Thank you, Shelby. Thank you, Chris. It was really a pleasure. And
Thanks,
Shelby,
man.
it was great watching you play with some of the tools.
I did it.
That are, right? A real citizen figured it out.
Hey.
And folks, we hope you enjoy these shows. If you've got any, suggestions, talk to Shelby. She was, of course, who was there, about, other particular people that you might want to see. But I think this one was really, really informative. And we're going to because we're every week, we have the ability to show you a real variety of things that are going on in your hometown, so you and Frank and Mary can stay just where you are. So stay safe, stay healthy. And we'll see you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough.
Bye,
Thanks.